Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Required Reading, where today we're going to be continuing our read of the novelization of the movie Gremlins 2, The New Batch. This was a novelization that was written by David Bishop. It was based on the motion picture written by Charlie Haas and characters created by Chris Columbus. This week we are going to be reading chapters 11 and 12. So here we go. Chapter 11. The yummy yogurt stand at Clamp Center was typical of yogurt shops everywhere. Customers could have their low-cal frozen treat covered with chocolates, syrups, and candies and nuts until the final calorie total topped that of the daily intake of a sumo wrestler in weight gain training. It was just the sort of place that could attract Mogwai. And indeed, the terrible trio of George, Lenny, and Mohawk had found it to their tremendous joy and glee. Two young men were the yogurt jerks tonight. Mike and Eddie were teenagers from Queens, and this gig was their first regular job. They sported their bright white uniforms with pride. Right now, they were serving a final bunch of customers. It was late, but one of the nice features of Daniel Clamp's Mall was that it stayed open so late. People coming out of the Broadway shows or clubs could go and do that one more bit of necessary shopping before they went home. "Let me see," said Mike to a customer standing over his treasure trove of goodies. "So that's a Kona praline and banana berry swirl with kiwis and peanut butter cups?" "Yeah." "Oh, wait," said a woman. "Are the peanut butter cups all natural?" "I'm not sure. Yo, Eddie, are the peanut butter cups all natural?" "I'm not sure." He turned to his coworker. "Are the peanut butter cups all natural?" "Gee, I don't know. What do you mean? They're Reese's, I think." "So that's like the original peanut butter cup, and that means they're natural, right?" "I'm not sure. Aren't there additives in Reese's?" "Aren't there additives in everything, ma'am?" While the discussion raged, the Mogwais positioned themselves on the floor behind the counter to gobble up frozen yogurt running from an open tap. "Yum," said Lenny, a gourmet apparently. Eddie turned to get another dish of very berry mix and saw with great consternation that the taps were on. But before he could turn them off, another customer was raging at him. "Mister, I asked for Oreo cookies and gummy bears. This stuff," she held up a dish filled with weird gunk, "it's like hair." "Ma'am, we don't have anything that's like—" Both of their attentions were drawn at the same time to a motion from the topping bin. A hairy paw was reaching out from below to scoop out the batch of M&Ms. "What is that?" shrieked the fat woman. "It's a rat," said another. "Yum," said Lenny. "What's going on here?" said a man in glasses, looking cross and annoyed. "Did that woman say there are rats?" No, sir. She said there were no rats here," said Mike. It was into this rapidly growing pandemonium that Billy and Kate walked. "Over there," said Kate, pointing to the yummy yogurt stand. "There's something going on at the yogurt stand." "Right," said Billy, and they tore over to where the carnage was occurring. The scene had developed into a near riot as people were either running in to see the rats or running away from them. "I'm telling you," said a customer, eyes wide with horror and alarm, "there was a thing in the trail mix." "I don't just want a different yogurt, I want damages," cried an outraged customer. Billy grabbed the guy who'd seen the trail mix creature and pulled him around. "What kind of thing was in the trail mix?" he demanded. "I don't know. A furry thing. It was supposed to be health food." The guy looked totally apoplectic. Feeling a good deal of anxiety and apprehension, Billy checked the clock. 12:10. A full 10 minutes after midnight. He pulled Kate aside. "That's it. It's after midnight and they've eaten. Now they'll make their cocoons. And if they get to water... Come on, said Kate. Billy could see his own fear reflected in her eyes. She pulled him quickly towards the elevators. Where are we going? 6 floors underground. Huh? Look, I'm the tour guide. I know this building. I have to show you something. The elevator door opened. It seemed like it took forever for the trip, but only a few seconds passed. Kate led him into a cavern-like floor, dimly lit. It smelled of water and concrete here. She pulled him along a catwalk through an eerie half-light. It's along here, said Kate. They almost ran smack into the things in the darkness. Cocoons. What's this? Said Kate, horrified by the slimy bumps. Oh no, they've already made their cocoons, Billy said, verging on panic. They're so gross. And indeed they were, slimy, glistening green, and already twitching and thumping about with inner life. The cocoons are gonna hatch by morning, said Billy, and if those guys get wet... Billy, I'm sorry, I brought the wrong one home with me, but he looked like the... It's my fault, leaving Gizmo alone like that. We've got to find him. Come on, this way. They came to a deep square recess in the wall. Inside hulked massive machinery, pipes, pumps, meters, grinding with energy, surrounded by a chain-link fence. This is where the water comes into the building, said Kate. Great. Maybe if we shut it off, they'll even close the place down. Billy went to the corner of the chain-link cage and started bending links back from the seam, trying to make a big enough opening to slip through. Inside the system's control center of the clamp center, one of the technicians, Henry Amos, got a beep from his terminal. The nighttime supervisor, Ned Marshall, hearing this little pinging sound, wandered over to have a look at the blinking red diagram displayed on the basement water machinery. "Give me video," ordered Marshall. The technician typed a command, and an image of a young man pulling back the links of the cage appeared on the screen. "What?" said Ned Marshall. "Guards!" he shouted into a microphone. He punched in a security alert. Billy managed to open up a seam in the cage. He had to get in and turn off the water before the well-fed after-midnight mogwais could use it. Suddenly, though, a bright light hit his eyes. "Back off," said a guard behind the light. "Put your hands up." He was waving a gun. Billy's insides went watery. Guns frightened the spit out of him. He moved away from the fence, Kate by his side. The mogwai in his bag chose that moment to move around. "What's in the bag, pal?" demanded the guard. "Nothing," said Billy. "Oh, yeah? Let's have a look." "You don't want to," said Billy. Ignoring him, the guard brusquely grabbed the bag, opened the zipper, and looked down. "Ah!" he cried. His head shot back. Hanging onto his nose, teeth clamped tightly, was Daffy the mogwai. The guard flailed his head around furiously until Daffy was finally torn free and flew away into the darkness. "No!" cried Billy. The pitter-patter of Daffy's departing footsteps echoed through the corridor. The guard recovered, grabbed Billy before he could chase after Daffy. He started handcuffing him. "We have to find him," said Billy, "before he eats something." The guard pointed angrily at his nose. "He already ate something." Billy looked around for Kate. Then he realized that she was hiding. "Look," he told the guard, "we have to shut this building down. That thing that bit you, there are more of them, okay? And they're going to turn into these monsters, and..." "Tell you what, pal, you can tell the cops all about the monsters. I'm sure they'll be very interested." He started to haul Billy away. "Listen," said Billy, "I'm not crazy. People are going to be in a lot of danger. They wreck things. They kill people. If they get out of here, they'll destroy the whole city. They'll destroy everything. Listen to me." But of course, the guard didn't. He probably heard this story before. As he was dragged out of the basement, Billy heard the cocoons thwumping and gurgling and growing. Chapter 12. Morning in New York City. The sun reluctantly rose up out of the Atlantic, had its cup of coffee and a cheese Danish at Nettix, and then grumpily staggered up into the sky with its copy of the Daily News sports results. At the Manhattan Midtown precinct, Kate and Billy hurried down the steps past a group of handcuffed street mimes. "Thanks for getting me out of there," said Billy. It had been his first night in jail, ever, and it had not been pleasant. "It was easy," said Kate. "I just gave them next month's rent." "When we get there, go to your job like normal, okay? And just keep your eyes open. What time is it?" Kate examined her watch. 6:30. They hit the early morning streets in a run towards the Clamp Center. The dawn's nicotine-stained fingers grasped the Clamp Center as the first workers straggled in. The myriad shops in the mall made their morning ablutions and ministrations, rolling up the chain fences and unlocking doors. There was no sign of last night's yogurt melee. It wasn't even part of the building's grapevine news this morning. Rats in Manhattan? So new. Like finding New Jerseyans in Hoboken. The newsstand was getting its bundles of Times and Posts and Daily News to set up beside the porn magazines, racing forums, and stacks of, yes, the New Yorker. Corrugated metal security gates rose above the really wired espresso cafe, the tippy-top tanning salon, and Scissors Wizards, a trendy haircutting place. Life was also stirring in the deepest, darkest bowels of the building. The cocoons were opening up. Smoke drifted eerily above them as the slimy things began to burst open, gushing great gouts of gangrenous goo as they released their hellish spawn. Upstairs, Gizmo the Mogwai was lost. He'd finally managed to get over his attack of fear and claustrophobia about an hour before, and he'd crawled up one narrow vent and down another, but he'd managed to get himself so terribly lost he didn't know what to do. "Oh, Billy. Billy," he thought. "Where are you?" He inched forward, farther into the darkness of the vents. Suddenly the floor just disappeared beneath him. Gizmo fell down a long shaft, flailing his arms helplessly, grasping uselessly for purchase. Down and down he fell, and he thought for certain that the end of the shaft would be the end of him, and he would never see Billy again, never get to say goodbye. The darkness turned into a murky, smoky half-light, and he landed in something soft and giving, cushioning his fall, so that he came to no harm. One of the Mogwai cocoons. As he got up and backed away, Gizmo recognized it and its brethren for what they were. These things had once been George, Lenny, and Mohawk. He backed away, trembling with an overwhelming sense of impending doom. "Billy!" he squeaked. He had to get away. He had to get away and warn Billy. He had to stop this insanity from happening again. If these gremlins got loose in New York City, Gizmo didn't even want to think about it. Suddenly, without warning, a green claw grabbed him from behind, jerking him backward off his feet. He was wheeled around and there, looming before him like the creature from the Black Lagoon, all green and lizardy and big-eared with scales and sharp fangs and evil, luminous eyes, was a large gremlin with a haircut straight from the James Fenimore Cooper novel. Mohawk. The noxious thing leered at him like the devil himself, grabbed poor little Gizmo and shook him. The malicious gleam in his eyes said all that needed to be said. "I'm going to take care of business, you nerd, you," the malicious green demon said. You're going to get it, you dumb little mogwai. The demonic gremlin laughter of Mohawk's two companions reverberated behind the pair. Gizmo was backed against a wall right by a set of master controls for the building's electrical system. Pinning Gizmo's little neck against the wall, Mohawk beckoned to his cronies. George and Lenny, grown into creatures out of Mephistopheles' nightmares, shuffled forward, green faces leering at some private, obscene joke. Quickly, the powerful Mohawk ripped loose cables from the wall and used it to tie Gizmo down. He gestured towards Gizmo and looked at the other two gremlins in a sinister fashion, as though saying, "He's all yours, guys. Enjoy." Then he moved off into the shadows, nefarious plans brewing in his mind. George excitedly indicated the gridwork of the lighting panel and tapped an exposed cable. Tongue lolling stupidly, dripping purplish saliva, Lenny advanced, grabbed the cable and yanked it free. Sparks flew as Lenny handed George the frayed end of the live wire. "Now!" screeched the gremlin, but too late. It gave him a shock that knocked him a full 6 feet away. Picking his smoky self off the ground, George angrily stomped back, slapped Lenny roundly across the chops, and then grabbed the cable by its insulated end. His gimlet eyes glittered as he held the end of the power cable out to touch the helpless mogwai. Billy Peltzer and Kate Barringer ran breathlessly in through the lobby doors of the Clamp Center. Most of the businesses were open now, and a sea of people washed through the mall area, all oblivious to the green menace brewing in their building. "Billy," said Kate, "what if they're already—" Billy, totally distraught, but not giving up hope. "They are. Come on." They were running past the newsstand when they ran into Grandpa Fred, dressed in his full vampire regalia. "Hello, Billy," said Fred. "The building's completely screwed up today." Billy hurried on past the caped one, pulling Kate along with him. "Hi, Fred. I know." Fred watched them go. "Sure. You're young. You know everything." They darted ahead to the newsstand. Billy stopped there and grabbed 4 souvenir flashlights, each in the shape of the Clamp Center. $86.38 with tax, said the bored lady in charge. Billy didn't hear. "I'm going to go up and—" he said to Kate. Abruptly, her words sank in. "How much?" The clerk shrugged. 4 times $19.95. "Put it on my bill," said Billy. He gave Kate 2 of the flashlights, and then hurried her along through the lobby. "Remember," he said, "they can't stand bright light. If one of them gets near you, light him up." Suddenly, out of nowhere, Marla swooped down on Billy. Before he could do or say anything at all in the way of objection, she gave him an intimate squeeze and a big kiss. "Good morning, Billy," she said, breathlessly. "That was so nice last night. We're going to have to do that again." Billy, knowing he was in deep trouble nonetheless, tried to act as if nothing was wrong. He fumbled and stammered, trying to make proper introductions. Marla, this is Kate, my—" Marla pretended she hadn't seen Kate before. Now, glancing over, she gave Kate the once-over and said, "Oops, I'd better get going. See you upstairs, Billy." She gave Kate a cold smile. "Cute hat." "Oh, boy," thought Billy. "I've got the devil to pay now." He turned to Kate and saw that she was steaming. Kate, listen, I think I'd better explain." "Don't do any explaining right now, okay?" she said in a cool, measured voice. "I'm too mad." A full-blown lover's quarrel could have erupted here, but Billy was saved again, this time by the appearance of Kate's supervisor, a dour-looking spray-on brunette whose Clamp Center hat looked a little wilted. "Kate, you're up, honey." Excuse me, said Kate, cutting off the discussion in mid-chill. I have to go to work now. Billy shook his head. He didn't have the luxury of worrying about the state of his relationship with Kate. At the rate things were going, the city was going to be destroyed before he and Kate had a chance to even start deteriorating. But look, I'm going to go to systems control. If I'm not back down here in 15 minutes, Kate scowled at him. Billy, if we all get through today alive, you're going to be in big trouble. She stalked off. Kate, he started to plead, but she was already gone. Terrific, said Billy, and he headed for the elevator banks. As he passed a clothing store, he noticed a teenage girl holding up a pair of jeans. Excuse me, she asked a clerk. Do you have any styles that aren't, fringed? Billy looked. The jeans were shredded from the knees down. They weren't fringed, they were clawed. The gremlins were on the loose. From within the store, Billy then heard a strange cry. Wahoo! A few minutes later, Billy Peltzer had found his way into the Clamp Center Control headquarters, nestled deep beneath the building. Frank Forrester was making his morning rounds. Billy went up to him. Mr. Forrester. Peltzer! What are you doing inside the building? You got yourself arrested here last night and you come back? He turned to a technician. Get security up here. He's out. Forrester started to walk away, but Billy followed him. Mr. Forrester, we have to evacuate the building right now. Oh, we do? Why's that? There are creatures in the building. They start out as these small furry animals, but then they eat and they go into cocoons and then they become small green... Forrester shook his head, astonished, then angry. Drugs! This is drugs. It's gotta be. You're on a groovy little trip, aren't you, Peltzer? Well, let me be the first to tell you something, Mr. Flower Child. Just listen to me. A technician twirled around in his chair. Wait a minute. This is good. They start out furry and then they have cocoons? First they eat. Well, sure, said another technician, joining in on the fun. If you're going to go into a cocoon, you want to have a little something to nosh. More of the technicians joined in on the fun, laughing and joking. Oh no, we're all going to get slimed. All right, fantastic. Well, thank you so much again for joining me for another couple of chapters of Gremlins 2, the novelization. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And hope you'll join us again next time. In the meantime, keep reading.
Clamp Cable Network now leaves the air. We hope you have enjoyed our programming, but more importantly, we hope you have enjoyed life.